Hi there. In this section, we're going to take a look at some of the more advanced concepts in terms of registration. Now, registration, as you probably realize, is really important because you want your component to be registered in the dependency injection container, and all of the examples we've seen so far are pretty much sufficient for you to be able to actually register components and then consume them. So in this section, we're going to talk about some of the more advanced approaches. So here's what we're going to see. First of all, we'll talk about passing parameters to resolve. Essentially, you understand that sometimes you don't know some of the constructor parameters, for example, until you actually resolve the component. And in this case, you can delay the provision of these parameters and not do them at the register type stage when you're working with the container builder, but actually provide them when the container has already been built and you are resolving a particular component. In the same vein, we'll also talk about property and method injection. Now, in Artifact, the conventional way of resolving components is through a constructor injection, and that's what you should be aiming to do for most of the examples, but property and method injection are also possibilities. They're also supported, and we'll see how we can do both of those. Then we'll take a look at how to scan for types. Now, as you probably realize, registering types one by one is only really feasible if you have a very small number. If you have lots of types, it's really tough to register everything in an assembly, and this is why we have special APIs for doing exactly that, for taking an assembly and registering all the types in the assembly, or registering all the types with a particular name or satisfying a particular predicate. And there is plenty of customization in this regard, and that's what we're going to take a look at. And finally, we'll take a look at scanning for modules, and we'll discuss what modules are actually for. So essentially, when you have a configuration of the container, you don't have to keep the whole configuration in one place. Instead, you can split it into several modules. Now, the reason why this is typically done is that large applications are made up of several assemblies, and each of those assemblies might want to configure the overall container in its own special way. So this is why modules exist in the first place. So this is what we're going to see in this section.